Let's get straight to the point. Number 8. The sticky truth of duct tape. Your dad's favorite tool for fixing literally anything, including the bumper of a 1998 Corolla, wasn't actually designed for home DIY projects or keeping your leaky pipes from turning your basement into an indoor pool. Duct tape is the universal close enough solution for a reason. During World War II, a factory worker named Vesta Stout realized soldiers were struggling to open ammo boxes sealed with flimsy wax. In the heat of battle, fumbling with a box because the pull tab snapped off isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's a death sentence. She suggested a cloth-based, waterproof tape. The military loved it because it was rugged enough to keep moisture out of grenades, but easy enough to rip by hand when things got spicy. It was originally olive drab green and was nicknamed duct tape because it shed water like a duck's back. Now we use it for broken flip-flops. Scientifically, it's a masterpiece of polymer engineering, using a polyethylene coating and a rubber-based adhesive that creates a strong mechanical bond. It's basically the Force from Star Wars. It has a light side, a dark side, and it holds the universe together. But yeah, it was born to help people blow things up more efficiently. Just remember that next time you're taping a poster to your wall.
Number 7. The chemical suture of superglue. Ever tried to fix a broken coffee mug and ended up fusing your thumb and index finger together in a permanent, awkward OK sign? That liquid frustration we call superglue wasn't meant for your ceramic mishaps. Back in 1942, Harry Coover was trying to create clear plastic gun sights for Allied soldiers. Instead, he created something so incredibly sticky it was deemed a total failure for precision optics because it ruined every piece of equipment it touched. Fast forward to the Vietnam War, and medics realized this failure was a literal lifesaver. If a soldier had a gaping chest wound or a shredded limb, surgeons didn't have time for fancy needlework while bullets were flying. They'd just spray the wound with cyanoacrylate to stop the bleeding instantly. It's an exothermic reaction, meaning it gives off heat as it cures, and it polymerizes almost instantly when it touches water, which, fun fact, is exactly what your blood and skin are made of. This is why it bonds your skin faster than the plastic toy you're actually trying to fix. It was a chemical weapon against blood loss, long before it was the reason you have a crusty patch on your dining room table. It's essentially a liquid bandage that happened to find a side hustle in the hardware aisle. So the next time you glue your hand to a table, just remember, you're using elite battlefield technology.
Number 6. The combat history of sanitary pads. If you thought your monthly cycle was a war zone, you're actually more right than you think. Let's talk about sanitary pads. Before they were featured in commercials where people pour mysterious blue liquid on them, they were a high-tech material used on the front lines of World War I. Kimberly-Clark developed Cellucotton, a literal game-changer for field medics. This stuff was 5 times more absorbent than cotton and cost half as much to produce. It was used to bandage shredded limbs and stop soldiers from bleeding out in the mud. The material was so effective that Red Cross nurses realized if it could handle a shrapnel wound, it could handle their own biological emergencies. After the war, the company had mountains of this stuff left over, so they rebranded it as Kotex, short for cotton-like texture. Scientifically, it uses capillary action within wood pulp fibers to pull moisture away from the surface. Next time you see a box, just know you're looking at a veteran of the Great War that traded the trenches for the pharmacy. It's a surgical dressing that got a civilian job. Talk about a career pivot from the front lines to the bedside table. It's basically a battlefield veteran in a floral box.
Number 5. The explosive origins of garden fertilizer. Your perfectly manicured lawn is basically a giant sleeping explosion waiting for a spark. That bag of synthetic fertilizer in your garage is essentially the ghost of the Great War. Before the 20th century, farmers relied on bird poop and luck to grow crops, but everything changed with the Haber-Bosch process. This scientific breakthrough allowed us to pull nitrogen right out of the thin air using extreme pressure and heat. However, it wasn't invented to feed your begonias. It was built to feed the German war machine during World War I. When they were cut off from natural nitrate supplies, they used this process to create massive quantities of ammonia for TNT and artillery shells. When the guns fell silent, the world had huge stockpiles of chemicals meant for destruction and no one to use them on. So they rebranded. They realized that the same nitrogen that creates a massive blast also makes corn grow like crazy. Scientifically, it bypasses the slow, natural nitrogen fixation process, fueling the global population explosion. Today, about half of the nitrogen in your body comes from a factory that was once designed to blow things up. You're literally built from the leftovers of a munitions plant. It's the ultimate swords into plowshares pivot, except the plowshare is a chemical cocktail that makes your grass look radioactive. Just don't let a stray match hit the bag in the shed.
Number 4. The kitchen's miniature radar array. Your microwave is basically a miniature death ray that you've tamed to melt cheese on your 2 a.m. nachos. But back in World War II, this thing was busy hunting enemy bombers in the dark. The heart of your microwave is a device called a magnetotron, developed to give Allied forces superior radar capabilities. While working at Raytheon, an engineer named Percy Spencer was standing near an active radar array and noticed the chocolate bar in his pocket had turned into a gooey mess. Instead of worrying about what that radiation was doing to his actual DNA, he thought, hey, I can cook popcorn with this. The science is actually pretty slick. The magnetotron generates electromagnetic waves that flip the water molecules in your food back and forth billions of times per second. This molecular friction creates heat through a process called dielectric heating. Before it was making your pizza rolls lava hot on the outside and frozen in the middle, it was the ultimate high-tech weapon for spotting ships across the ocean. We essentially took a massive military surveillance tool, shrunk it down, and shoved it into a box just so we wouldn't have to wait for an oven. It's a literal spy-tech gadget that we demoted to reheating coffee. So, every time you hear that ding, remember you're using the same tech that helped win the war against the Luftwaffe. It's a high-frequency tactical weapon for your kitchen.
Number 3. The tactical truth of the EpiPen. The little device that saves people from peanuts and bee stings wasn't designed because someone had a bad reaction to a Snickers bar. The EpiPen's ancestor was a literal survival tool for the apocalypse. Back in the Cold War, the military was terrified of nerve gas, the kind of stuff that turns your nervous system into a glitchy mess in seconds. Soldiers couldn't exactly sit down and carefully find a vein while their eyes were melting, so the Pentagon needed something idiot-proof. Enter the Mark I NAAK. It was a spring-loaded auto-injector designed to punch through a thick combat uniform and deliver a dose of atropine directly into the thigh muscle. It was a one-handed, high-pressure delivery system meant for the absolute worst-case scenario. After the threat of chemical warfare simmered down, the tech was adapted for civilians who have chemical warfare triggered by a stray strawberry. Scientifically, it uses a high-tension spring to drive a needle deep enough to hit the vastus lateralis muscle, ensuring the medicine hits the bloodstream at record speed. It's a tactical medical strike in the palm of your hand. So, if you carry one, just know you're packing a refined version of a Cold War countermeasure. You're basically walking around with a deactivated piece of anti-sarin gas equipment in your purse, which is a pretty hardcore way to handle a shellfish allergy. It's a battlefield legacy in a plastic tube.
Number 2. The missile guiding system in your pocket. You use it to find the nearest Starbucks, but your GPS was originally designed to guide a nuclear warhead to a very specific set of coordinates. In the 1970s, the U.S. Department of Defense realized that knowing exactly where you are is the ultimate tactical advantage. They launched a constellation of satellites to help submarines and missiles stay on target. It's called trilateration. At least 4 satellites beam down time-stamped signals, and your receiver calculates the tiny differences in speed to pinpoint your location within a few meters. But here's the chill part. The military actually used to fuzz the signal for civilians, a policy called selective availability, so you could only get a rough idea of where you were while the Pentagon got the high-def version. It wasn't until 2000 that the government flipped the switch and let us have the good stuff. Scientifically, it even has to account for Einstein's theory of relativity because the satellites are moving so fast, their clocks tick faster than ours. If we didn't fix that, your blue dot would drift miles away every single day. So your phone isn't just a map, it's a deactivated guidance system for a ballistic missile that now just helps you avoid traffic on the way to the mall. It's global surveillance tech used for DoorDash.
Number 1. The survival network for the apocalypse.
The thing you're using right now to watch this video was originally designed to survive a full-scale nuclear apocalypse. In the 1960s, the Cold War was peaking, and the Pentagon feared one well-placed nuke could kill the entire U.S. communication grid. If a central hub vanished, the game was over. So the Department of Defense created ARPANET. The goal wasn't to share memes, it was to build a decentralized network where info could hop between nodes. If one city was vaporized, the data would just find a new route. Scientifically, this relies on packet switching, where data is broken into chunks, sent through a web, and reassembled at the end. It's a brilliant engineering feat meant to ensure a counterstrike even if the country was glowing. Now we use this military tech to argue with strangers and watch cats. We turned a Doomsday tool into a global salt mine. It's built to withstand a hydrogen bomb, yet it dies if your router gets dusty. You're using a Cold War relic to doom scroll. Every time you log on, remember, you're in a digital fortress meant to keep the world running during the end. It's a weapon of mass distraction.
So, it turns out your house is basically a rebranded armory. If you enjoyed this dive into the secret history of your junk drawer, go ahead and hit like, share the video, and subscribe to Coolest Dude Explains. We're dropping new videos every single day, so ring that bell to make sure you never miss a thing. Thanks for watching, and stay cool.